Well, hello, friends. Welcome. I am Laura Leese. I am a spiritual director, and today joined by my new business partner, Samantha Young. And we are part of this organization called Streams of Grace Spiritual Direction. And this is our second video, and we hope you'll tune into all of these. Today, we're talking in particular about partnership. And Samantha, I'd love you to kick us off. What does partnership mean to you?
So, at its most basic, a partnership is just two people coming together and sharing the load. There are very tangible things that Laura and I share now, such as a website and a few bills to manage that website. If you dig a little bit deeper, though, Laura and I also share a foundational belief that spiritual direction is good and necessary work for people. So we feel called to walk alongside of people in their journeys of figuring out who they are and how they fit into the world and what's God doing in the midst of all of that. And we are supporting one another in our work. I often call it or think of it more as like a mentoring relationship between Laura and I right now. And we both bring skills and experience to the table that the other is lacking. Our partnership is honestly an alignment of all of those ideas. I think I would also like to add that our partnership in the spiritual direction world is unique. Most people in our position would pursue being solopreneurs, having a small business that is all their own, and then choosing to engage in community through peer supervision or their churches. None of that is bad. And in fact, Laura herself did that for 7+ years and was very successful. But going after this version of partnership that we're creating is different. And I believe that we are already both benefiting from this evolved streams of grace. And every day we're kind of seeing that play out a little bit more.
Mm, indeed. So beautifully said. I mean, you could just tell how passionate you are, Samantha, about partnership. And this is what first brought us together, referencing video one, that you're talking about that, just like this longing to be in partnership with folks in this field. And so what do we hope this looks like?
Yeah.
I would love your thoughts on that before I share mine.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So what do we hope this looks like? I hope we continue to embrace who we are as individuals and let that shine within our partnership. Now that we are in this together, we don't have to be everything the business needs. There's so much freedom when you can trust someone to be there with you, to make decisions with you, and to just trust that you are not alone. I hope we continue to imagine and then reimagine what this work looks like for us, because at the end of the day, we are serving the people we work with. And taking care of ourselves as we serve people is almost as important as the work that we do. So I think if I had to really boil it down, I keep really thinking about this idea of the freedom to continue to reimagine who you and I are as people within this partnership as we continue to serve and do this thing of spiritual direction that we feel so called to do. Yeah, that's my hope.
Amen. Yeah. So the idea of freedom, right? That seems to come up often as we sit with clients, directees, with anybody, to the freedom to be your true self. And I think about the idea of container. And if Streams of Grace is this container where it's safe for us to continue to be revealed to ourselves, and that we can be that for one another, and just this the speed of trust.
Yes.
An old Stephen Covey book, the concept of it's so foundational that we have that, because this whole thing, we are making this up as we go along, and to know that you have my back and I have yours, it's just so essential. And yeah, this idea of partnership, I've had my own experiences in it, and Samantha, you are bringing just a whole other level of that to me that hasn't been a focus for me, and I get excited. I mean, I think a blessing to be in this world is when we see other people living into their dream and their hope. And I get to see that. I got to see it all these years, and it's a whole other way now as we are partnering together. So it's a joy to get to serve with you.
I completely agree. And now that I'm hearing us talk about it, I think another thing that's bubbling up for me is this idea that we're giving each other, by saying yes to this, we're giving each other permission to kind of explore how our partnership as spiritual directors can look a little bit different. Because there kind of is a way to do things sometimes. There's a box. A spiritual director gets trained and then chooses a couple of options, and those are good. I'm not saying any of this is bad, but because you and I have come together in such a way that's a little different than how that box normally looks. We're giving each other permission to find other ways to do this in a good way.
Yes.
And there's something about that I think excites both of us, which is probably why we both have continued to say yes to this.
Indeed.
Because we could have said yes to other things easily. Yeah, but we're choosing this. We're choosing to figure this out together. And it's one of my favorite things about this partnership is us choosing to say yes and then figure it out together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Love it. Love us. So Laura, like, we're doing this thing and we've already said it's not the common thing to do, right? So why do we think this is good? Like, why have we chosen this path?
Yeah. And as I think about that question, Samantha, I'm reminded so often in the 7 years I've been about this, it's more common for people to see one another's competition.
Yeah.
And for the last 4 years in particular, I have been helping to support other spiritual directors who are just getting their business launched. And so we have a series of interviews out there or blog posts, and I'm just promoting them. And I mean, that's had to be a shift in me, that I had a belief there is abundance and there's plenty of clients, if you will, to go around. And we know this, right? In this world today, as we're recording this in 2024 summer, there is so much need. There's plenty of need. And so how can we help support one another? And I remember Bruce Tallman, who is one of the great voices who talks about starting your business in spiritual direction. And one of his kind of visions is, how can we help elevate the awareness of the planet of this tool called spiritual direction? And the idea of doing this together, we need one another. Not any one of us can serve all the need. That's the divine's role, not ours as individuals. And so this idea, the freedom to support one another, that's a big shift, I think, because even as we talk about the business of spiritual direction, the world of capitalism is about competition. And so how can we sit in that more expansively? And I think that's a work of the spirit. That is not something I conjured up myself.
Yeah. I mean, I basically am right along those lines too, but slightly different. Because like multiple times when you and I were like discussing this and like slowly moving forward, but still fast. We move pretty fast, but taking our time in between our conversations, there were multiple times where this little voice in the back of my head was like, you could just go do this yourself.
Yes.
Just you can. I could do all the things. I have a husband who has started multiple businesses. Like the whole starting a business thing was not scary to me. I could have done it, but there was this deep desire that I can only attribute to God in my gut. That was like the slower work of doing this together is better, and this is what I want for you, and pursue this. And I couldn't say no to that. I couldn't. And so I just pushed that the little voice away, because I just have this like deep, deep desire for partnership in me. And it's a choice. And sometimes it's a more difficult choice that takes longer. Nothing between us has been difficult, but like just like pursuing partnership, right? Like I was told no a couple of times before this worked out between you and I. And so pursuing that is more complicated. And there's more people involved and more opinions. But there's just something deep in me that desires this. And so I said yes to that. So yeah, that's why I think it's good so far.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough. But
It's so beautiful, right? That's like you can't say no to the movement of the spirit. I mean, that's the thing. And we do, we weigh the pros and cons, all the things. And at the end,
yeah,
it's, I must say yes to this. And
yeah,
I'm grateful.
yeah.
We'll
Me
be
too.
talking. We'll be talking in a future one of these interviews about what's going on in me, and Samantha and I being of slightly different generation age-wise, and where am I heading? And this idea of partnership, as long as that seems right, and
Mhm.
for sure the concept of successor to take Streams of Grace to her next era, which we're already in. And so just being so intentional. And our last little question is, how might this be different from
Yeah.
other spiritual direction organizations? We are not in competition.
No.
I am no longer accepting new spiritual direction clients as it is. I'm glad to help other people start their business, kind of emphasizing the business part. Sometimes organizations have a gatekeeper who are the people you must work through and get referred to others who are on the website. That's not us at all. And so, our homepage is featuring both of our photos and both of our bios, and as time goes, how do you link with each of us to reach out to get started? So I don't know anyone else who's doing this. Maybe they are, and would love to hear about them and want to support and encourage them. Would support and encourage any spiritual direction organization. I think beyond even just spiritual direction, this model of support, encouragement, empathy, help, that this whole concept, this is what we need more in the world anyhow.
I agree. I think another thing that also sets us apart um, is we are also very passionate about things that aren't just your typical one-on-one spiritual direction sessions. Like you, Laura, feel very passionately about helping other spiritual directors launch their businesses or improve, or and that really speaks to the no competition thing. Like we believe there's an overabundance of people who could use this work or benefit from this work. And so first and foremost, we care about the work and that people are getting the help they need. And whether or not that comes from Laura and I, is almost secondary. And so I would say that's also kind of a little bit of a thing that we bring with us. Yeah.
Thank you. It's beautiful. So again, friends, thank you for tuning in to our conversation about partnerships. We hope you will continue tuning in as we continue developing these interviews. We bless you. Thank you.